Hey guys, it's Mark again. We're on to the third model, the third way of looking at the creative process. This one comes from John Cleese. I mentioned him quite a few videos back, where he had done some investigation with Professor Donald McKinnon from Berkeley, who had identified a particular facility for getting into a way of operating. And that way of operating is essentially creativity, and the facility is play. So let's talk a little bit more about that and the two mindsets that John Cleese kind of identifies in the creative process. Similar to the archetype model, John Cleese looks at two mindsets, really just an open and a closed mindset. And to think about it through the archetypal model, the closed mindset is essentially looking at the warrior, the one who's trying to get things done, be decisive, take action to make the idea come true. And similarly, the closed mindset is something that you see a lot at work when there's a little bit of franticness or a little bit of urgency or stress. You're just trying to get the job done. You're trying to put out fires, those kinds of spaces where you're not really looking for new ideas right now. You got to get something done. And it's hard to step back and see anything other than what's in front of you. That's the closed mindset. Of course, the opposite of the closed mindset is the open mindset. Again, fairly self-explanatory. This is where you're not in a hurry. You're able to step back and take a look at the broad view, the forest for the trees. You're open to new possibilities. Looking at the archetypal model, this is the explorer, the artist, and even the judge. When you're able to be open to feedback and criticism, it's really just about not being narrowly focused, not shutting things out, allowing new ideas and new information in. So that's the open mindset. And that's the mindset that allows for play. So let's talk a little bit more about play, because John Cleese has some really great ideas about how to get into that space. So how to get into play. John Cleese actually has 5 different ingredients, I guess you might say, to be able to get into that space. And honestly, space is really a relevant term, because the first piece is space. I'll just list them out really quickly, and then I'll go through each one at a time. So first there's space, and then there's time, then there's time, then there's confidence, and then there's humor. And John Cleese presents it in a much better way. He's actually funny when he presents it. So if you can find that Video Arts video, I highly recommend it. But the basics are those 5 ingredients, and I'll go through each one at a time. The first ingredient to play is space. And ideally, it's literally a different physical space that you can go into and separate yourself from your everyday. A lot of people use, like a separate room or a space in a house to create a place to meditate or to exercise, kind of create a ritualistic, atmosphere or environment that, kind of cues your brain that this is where I'm going to do this. And so you want to be able to kind of have a threshold that you can separate yourself from an everyday and go into that space of play. And that can, at the very least mean, hiding distractions, turning off the phone or blocking calls, or putting on a funny hat, just something that you can help yourself get into that space mentally by being in a physically different space environmentally. The second ingredient I mentioned is time. And the idea is that it can take a little bit of time for your mind to kind of settle down and get into that space of play. So even if you're in a space, you might right away, your mind just might start thinking about everything that's outside that space. And so you have to give yourself some time. John Cleese felt like he needed about 30 minutes before he was able to really let go of all the different, urgent things that were in his head and really come to a place where he was able to get into that facility and really be able to play without too much distraction and really get some time to be able to get something done. So he would take about 90 minutes to be able to have his time for play. So he would get into a separate space, give a half hour for distraction, and then about an hour for real good work being done in that creative time. The third ingredient is time. And yep, I just mentioned that in the second ingredient. But the difference is this time is more about time over days or, the more opportunity you have for your subconscious mind to be able to work on something, the better the opportunity for the creativity to show up. I mentioned that in the first model, the 30,000 foot view model, where you want to get away from something and let your subconscious do some work. And that's kind of the same thing here. It's like you want to give your mind the opportunity to process. And so the more time you have, you should use it. John Cleese always felt like, know when your deadline is, and then give yourself every opportunity to stay with the problem as long as possible, and allow for the first idea or the third idea or the fifth idea. Keep going. Use as much time as you can, because the more time you have, the better the opportunity for more creativity to occur. The fourth ingredient to play is confidence. And really what that means is just being confident enough that your ideas will come, and that some of your ideas may not seem very worthwhile. You don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid to have bad ideas. Often some of the best ideas come from, kind of stepping stones from bad ideas. And so it's okay to get those bad ideas out and really go through them. In fact, I like to think of creativity sometimes as kind of like a bottle of wine. Like if you got the cork at the front, if your first idea is at the front, but the best idea is at the bottom. And so you got to pour the whole bottle to get to the good stuff. So that's not really a good wine analogy. I don't drink wine, in case you didn't notice, but that's visually what I always see when I think about that concept. So just have the confidence to get through it and keep going. The final ingredient to play is humor. And you don't have to force humor. I'm not going to try and force humor in this video. If it comes, it comes. But the idea is to not be afraid of humor. The idea is to not take things so seriously. The subject could be serious, but you can still be light about it, because humor tends to open the mind very quickly, and it tends to allow you to see things from different perspectives and see things in ways you've never seen them before. And so humor is a really neat way of doing that. And, things can be important, but they can still be light. So don't be afraid of humor, and it'll help you play. So hopefully those 5 ingredients are a little bit more practical than some of the other models. But basically, it's that whole idea of being in the right mindset at the right time, helping yourself kind of either be open when necessary or closed when necessary, and being able to shift between those two states of being. And, the archetypes allow you to kind of think about it from more of a personality perspective, with the explorer, the artist, the judge, and the warrior. And then, of course, the 6-step process is just really what occurs naturally. And so hopefully you can see how these overlap some. There's some differences between them, but they're all kind of about the same process that occurs naturally. And these are ways to help you get to there.